Hello again, and thank you for joining me on another episode of the Northwest Bank podcast. I'm Luther Lampert, Director of Digital Banking Strategies with Northwest Bank. On today's episode, we're going to cover some of the big questions that first-time home buyers face when they decide to enter the housing market. What do you need to know about credit scores, income verification, debt-to-income ratios, and everything else you need to understand to work towards purchasing your first home? To help me today, I'll be talking to Noah Slogter, mortgage loan originator with Northwest Bank. Noah has been a lender with Northwest Bank for 2 years and enjoys working with young borrowers looking to purchase their first home. As a young homeowner himself who recently went through the home buying process for the first time, Noah understands the questions and challenges that face first-time borrowers, and he enjoys getting the chance to navigate that journey with them. Noah, thanks for joining me today.
Absolutely.
During your time with Northwest Bank, you've had several opportunities to work with first-time home buyers. What do you enjoy most about working with customers who are at that stage of their life?
For me personally, I love working with first-time home buyers. That's my preference in clients. I'm willing to work with anyone, but I'm 24 years old. A lot of those first-time home buyers, are around my age from what I've been seeing down here, and it is just fun to work with them. I personally I bought my first home last May, and I'm officially a homeowner. So I get to tell them all these tips and tricks now. And for me, you asked me 15 years ago, and you asked, do you think you would have bought your first home at 23? Absolutely not. I didn't think it would be obtainable on anything like that. And that's the great part, especially working at Northwest Bank, is we do have so many different products available for homeowners, where in my situation, I didn't think I'd be able to get into a home, my early 20s. But with a lot of these first-time home buyer programs, they make that dream more or less a reality. I know I personally was working with a few clients, about 6 months ago, and in their situation, they thought there was no way that they can get into a home at all. They recently just had a kid. They didn't think much of it. I know she was working part-time. And I know we were able to find a product that they were able to get into that home, and they were extremely comfortable with that monthly payment. So something that turned into a long shot turned into, them stepping into that new house a month and a half later from when we had that first initial conversation. So even if you're on the fence with something, let's say you're in an apartment, you think you might extend your rent for another year. I guess I always say, let's just have a conversation first and see, can we get you into a home with still that monthly payment? We have the tools available. And the thing too that I always say is my job is to make the home buying process as simple as possible for you as the borrowers. I'm gonna hold your hand throughout the entire process. I can promise if documents get sent your way, I'm gonna be shooting you a text or giving you a call explaining what are these documents, what do you need to do with it, doesn't even pertain to you type of deal. So I always hang my hat on being able to pick up the phone at any time. I know I always have my cell on me, and I want to be more than just an outlet, throughout that process. I want to also be a friend. If you have questions about, what type of lawnmower do I have to buy now? Guess what? I might not have the answer to that, but I'm gonna get you hooked up with someone. What insurance do I have to get? I'll get you hooked up with someone. I want to be that one-stop shop where you could have questions about anything. I'm going to refer you off to people that can help with that, and obviously help you just through the mortgage process as well.
So looking at buying your first home can be intimidating if you don't know where to start. You have a lot of experience working with first-time home buyers. When they come to you and ask you what they need to have ready, where do you even tell them to begin?
I guess for me personally, the first step to, starting the home buying process is, like you were saying, giving me a call first. From there, I'll be able to send them over my application. They will then be able to fill everything out. They'll be able to list their current income, what's your job look like, assets you have. I'll be able to pull credit score, everything like that. Once I have that application, then I'll go ahead and start requesting those initial documents. Those documents are going to look like W-2s, pay stubs, bank statements, the simple photocopy of your driver's license, tax returns, basically all those basic income documents that we just need up front. Once I have all of those documents, then I'll really begin all of my work. I'll be able to go in, finalize the finalize the file, really square away those income assets that I was mentioning, and then from there, I'm going to see how much you qualify for. The biggest item that myself as a lender look at is a thing called a debt to income ratio. Here we take a look at all of your monthly debts, so everything that will report on a credit score, and then we're going to divide that by that gross monthly household income that you have. From there, all of our investors need to see that ratio under 50%. So after I get that, assuming everything looks good, the next question that I'll ask, and the main question, is what do you want that estimated monthly payment, to be around for your mortgage? From there, I'll be able to go in, kind of pinpoint, a purchase price range that you might want to look at when you begin really searching for homes with the realtor. And then from there, you get that purchase price you want, you find that dream home, you get an accepted offer, and then the bus starts going after that.
So what are all the sorts of things that you take into consideration as you're putting together, say that homeowners or your applicant's budget? Is it just the cost of the house that they're looking at, or what other considerations go into that to help you and the borrower determine what they can afford?
So the main thing that I'm looking at is that debt to income ratio, making sure that's under 50%. Another big one that I'm looking at too is, how much do you guys have, for a down payment? With first-time home buyers, there are a lot of first-time home buyer grants out there, in which they can receive some down payment assistance. But just looking at that debt to income ratio and how much they can use for their down payment, those are the two biggest items that I look for when trying to pinpoint, first, how much do you qualify for? And then what is that specific purchase price range that you'd feel comfortable with that exact monthly payment? Because a lot of the times, you can qualify for a lot of house, but let's just say, for example, you can qualify for a $300,000 home, but that monthly payment is $500 more than what you want. Well, that's when I go in and I try to pinpoint, okay, it looks like, a $250,000 home is maybe where you'd feel more comfortable with. Yes, you can qualify for more, but what, are you going to feel comfortable with at the end of the day?
What other financial considerations does a borrower need to take into account before they come to you? How do they even know what they're looking at for down payment that they might have to have ready?
Yeah, great question. Kind of going back on what I previously was mentioning, with being a first-time home buyer, there are a lot of different first-time home buyer products and programs out there. Especially, these products are especially used for down payment assistance. So with these first-time homebuyer programs, there's two main programs that I like looking at. The first one is called the Home Ready program. With this Home Ready program, there is a minimum 3% down payment. If you qualify for this program, you also get a reduced interest rate and also some reduced private mortgage insurance as well. And I'll kind of touch more on that in a little bit. The second program that we really look at utilizing, and something that I've seen pretty common and pretty popular over the past year, so we partner with an investor called the Iowa Finance Authority, and they have a program that allows the borrowers to essentially bring almost $0 to closing, at the time of closing. So this program, to go into it, so it is called the second loan program. So for example, if let's say the purchase price of the home is $100,000, this program will give you a second loan up to 5% of the purchase price. So going back to my example, purchase price of $100,000, they will give you $5,000 to use for the down payment and closing costs. So with this program too, it is a minimum 3% down payment. So going back to my example, 3% can be used, that $3,000 will be used for the down payment, and then that extra $2,000 will be helped towards closing costs and everything like that. Typically, I have seen many different times borrowers being able to use this program, and like I was saying earlier, they have to bring $0 to the closing table. Now, with everything, there is a mini catch in a way. So this second loan is repayable at the time of sale of the property or at the time of refinance. So what it's really doing is this program is meant for borrowers that might not have, a ton of assets right now. It allows them to get into the home and then over time build up that savings account. So then when they do decide to sell the home, or if they are looking to get into a lower rate, assuming rates come down eventually, at that time, then it will have to get paid off. So it really just allows those first-time home buyers to get into the home.
How about, well, you touched on this briefly, just kind of what all the steps in that home buying process are, but can you talk a little more in depth and into what all goes into it from application to closing and what that timeline looks like?
Yeah, so the timeline, when you get a accepted purchase agreement to, the closing day is typically around 4 weeks, so a full month. Kind of going back at the very start of that process, that first initial conversation that can be held on phone, over email, in person with me. We'll just get a rough idea. Okay, what is your timeline? How much are you thinking you can afford? What is that monthly payment, like I was mentioning? From there, you'll send over all those documents, and then I will send you over what's called a pre-qualification letter. You will need this pre-qualification letter to be able to put an offer in on a home. This pre-qualification letter will say something as simple as, John Smith is pre-qualified through Northwest Bank for the financing of a home up to X amount of dollars. What this letter does is it lets the seller agent and the sellers of the property, it lets them know and assures them that you already have financing in place, and essentially financing isn't going to fall through throughout the process. I always joke, it's essentially telling the sellers that you're not wasting their time, that you are already qualified. Once you have this letter, you will be able to put an offer in on a home. Assuming you get that accepted offer, now the work on my side of things really begins. So from there, I'll be able to go in and order an appraisal and all the title work. If you aren't familiar what an appraisal is, it's when a person goes out and determines the total value of your home. All the title work that gets done on my end. You don't need to worry about any of that. From there, assuming we've collected all income and asset statements, I will then send the file over to my underwriting team. Well, they will start to look at the file with a magnifying glass, making sure we have all documents. They might have a few questions that'll come up that'll just need some explanation to. And then you can just answer that at that time or resubmit any documents that we missed initially. From there, assuming that the underwriters are all good with everything, they'll then give us the green light and give us full approval. At that time, we are ready for closing. Typically, a turnaround time, assuming we can get all documents collected, we'll get that collected pretty quick and upfront. That underwriting time can take around 2 weeks to get that full approval. From there, it's just waiting until the closing date. For the actual closing date, I know down here in West Des Moines, we'll go to a attorney's office, and from there, an attorney, myself, and then you two and the realtor will all be in the room. You'll sign a few closing documents, and then you'll officially be homeowners.
How important is my credit score when I'm looking at purchasing my first home? And what are you looking for? And what are things that I can be doing to help?
Credit scores are a major impact in interest rates. So your credit score does mean a lot in the home buying process. I know here at Northwest Bank, we can have a minimum credit score of 620 and up. So with a lot of those first-time home buyer programs that I previously mentioned, they do have credit limits. I know with that popular IFA second loan program, that is a minimum credit score of 640. Typically, the higher credit score, the better interest rate you'll receive, and the lower credit score, the slightly worse credit score you'd receive. So yes, credit score is a very big thing in the home buying process. For you to have a good credit score, it's as simple as paying your bills on time. That's what I always tell everyone. Those late payments can really affect that credit score negatively.
So Noah, there's certainly a lot that goes into purchasing your first home, but it sounds like if somebody's out there and they've got questions, whether it's around credit score, if it's around their debt to income ratio, if it's around what they can expect to pay for their monthly mortgage payment, that you as their lender are there to help calculate that, provide more feedback, and give answers to those big questions that any potential borrower has. So as you have somebody who's coming to you looking for help, What is the biggest piece of advice that you can offer to a potential first-time home buyer?
One of the biggest mistakes that I've seen personally with first-time home buyers is they find a home on Zillow. They then go ahead and tell their realtor, I want to go show it. They have no financing plans at all. And then they fall in love with the house. And then they come to me and they find out they can't qualify for the home at all. And that's when I go back, just for any first-time home buyers, I would highly recommend reaching out to a lender first, seeing how much you can qualify for before you start searching. That way, going back to that example, you don't fall in love with a dream home that's unfortunately just out of your purchase price range at that time. So yeah, always feel free to reach out to a lender first just to see how much you can get qualified for.
So regardless of where you're at in the home buying process, Northwest Bank can help. You can visit us online at NW.bank. You can use our mortgage loan payment calculator and help determine how much house you can afford. You can sign up for Credit Sense and check your credit score and receive tips on how you can increase your score. You can also sign up for Rate Watch to see our latest interest rates and find a list of our amazing mortgage loan originators who can help answer any questions you may have surrounding the home buying journey. We are here to help. Noah, thanks for answering some questions for us today.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
And thank you for listening. Keep checking NW.bank for more episodes of the podcast. You can also find us on YouTube, Spotify, and on Google and Apple Podcasts. Subscribe today and get notifications every time we release a new episode.